Hey, brother, let me tell you something. This week's Raw fucking lit! Assholes! You would think that after AEW, opened the doors to like indie style wrestling, worldwide style wrestling, and pleased many a person that, WWE would step up their game. And in fact, I think that's why a lot of people tuned in. No, I don't think that. I know that because otherwise they'd be like, fuck this shit, I'm just catching the highlights. As is part of the course now.
Definitely curious about the response.
Look, man, I'm going to watch it, see what's up. I'm not going to abandon the product until it gets good or dies. And right now, it's looking like it's going to fucking die face first in the muck. Dude, it was fucking colas. One of the worst Raws I have ever seen, if not possibly the worst Raw. In fact, I'm not going to say the worst because there was some salvaging points. But that first fucking third of it... Oh my balls. I wanted to die throughout that entire fucking hour, maybe even an hour and a half first chunk. It was fucking atrocious, dude. So we're going to call this the worst of, what would we call this? WWE's worst of the week. Let's call that this fucking shit. We're going to do it every week until WWE gets better or dies. WWE's worst of the week. First awful thing was that long and pathetic intro. Not only was it long, but everything in it was shit. It was fucking garbage. First things first, they milk Brock Lesnar holding the Money in the Bank a boombox thing, which a lot of people found amusing because it's so against his character. Yeah. So they just milked it, and they gave him a boombox Money in the Bank suitcase. Dude, I was like, oh, God, what is this?
Wouldn't that just affect... I haven't seen it, by the way. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't that just effectively ruin the novelty of seeing it once?
Yes, they're SNLing the shit out of things. Dude, now we know that you know, and you think it's funny. See, with other things, we think it's cool. Okay, we want to see more of it, maybe.
Yeah.
With something funny... It only works so long before it's not funny.
Like the Titus thing.
Yeah, like Titus. You can't replicate a moment that just happened.
Yeah.
That's why you should not script moments, WWE. Well, they scripted the fuck out of this and it was shit. Now, mind you, it was fun to see Brock throw out a little zapatazo there, but it's still, in the end, I was like, dude.
I did see
90s!
Shit, I did see they premiered a shirt.
Yeah, Brock party. Speaking of Brock parties, that only brings up the block party that the Usos had. Now, this was to prolong their feud with the Revival. Look, man, not only was the Revival getting stomped on, but now they've made fools out of the Usos. This is one of the best tag teams, ever.
Yeah.
And now they're just a shitty joke. And mind you, it's a shitty joke that's trying to make a shitty joke out of the Revival, but now they're a shitty joke too, because none of the stuff is funny. This block party was shit, and they would cut to it throughout the entire course of the fucking 3 hours. And every time I was like, stop this block party shit, please. This is cornball. It was, nothing about it was good. Everything was corny. We had Tamina come in, and then they did this thing where she was gonna confront Naomi, but then no, we're family, and this is the block party. It was just like, dude, stop making the Usos a comedy bit. They're not good at it, for one. And they can be funny. It's just when they force. This is obviously forced on them, and it doesn't come off as funny. And then on top of that, it's at the expense of the Revival. It's getting old. It was old. It's now ancient. It's a fucking hag and not a cool one. Then also during this portion, this unending portion, we had Shane come out and do his spiel against Roman. Because they're gonna have a thing at Saudi Arabia. Yeah, everybody was actually kind of involved in the Miz thing, and they just put that aside for this Roman thing. Whatever, who cares, right? We certainly don't matter, so whatever. Anyway, he comes out and runs. And I like Shane, but this Shane, woo, Evil Shane, whatever version this is of Evil Shane 3000.0, it's terrible. He's bad. He's drawing heat, but in all the wrong ways. People just don't like it. It sucks, and I agree. It stinks to the high heavens. So he comes out and he rants and spiels about Roman, and he basically is going to make is going to show him an example of what he's going to do to him, and he calls out one of his relatives. That's right, his cousin Lance.
Oh, Lance?
Lance, that guy?
Lance is a cool guy.
Then he, has Drew beat him up. And then he goes into beating him up and then, you know, taking the win. Predictable shit. Fine. But it's not working. And how do I know it's not working? Well, one, I want to vomit inside my soul. Two, the crowd starts to chant, "This is awful." And I wholeheartedly agreed. I was like, this is... Already, I'm like 70 hours into this fucking first part. This is long. This is terrible. I don't want to see this. Get to something. Get to doing something. And then on top of that, they start chanting AEW, which I'm at odds with. You know what I'm saying? On the one hand, this is so bad that I wanted not to see it. Anything else on earth would have been better than that. So I get it. On the other hand, it's kind of fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You can't really blame anyone but the creative team. And really that means Vince for some of this garbage. So it's kind of fucked up to see that lobbed at the people. But at the same time, fuck me, man. Rebel or some shit. You're his son. Say, fuck this shit. I'm not doing this. This is garbage. This is mojones on a stick.
Lance.
Dude, it was bad. And it took forever. So this Raw started horribly. Then they gave us horrible news. Here's another awful thing. AJ's injured. And it's not fucking kayfabe. He's injured for real. So he had to pull out of the four-way match that was going to determine who went against Seth. Guess who they replaced him with?
Baron.
Baron freaking Corbin, man! The worst fucking wrestler on earth.
It's pretty sad that without having seen the show, I know it's Baron.
Dude.
Because they just throw him into everything now
Yes.
for some ass reason.
Now, mind you, this match eventually happened.
Uh-huh.
It didn't happen right away when they announced this. But when it did happen, Baron fucking won!
Oh, man.
He won against Braun and Miz and, you know, that other guy who I forgot completely
Oh, yeah,
because
that guy?
this fucking match was not in my interest. Now, I will say this, though. The match, surprisingly, was pretty good. Especially considering it had Baron Corbin in it. So I'm not being a total neg here. That's my word for negative.
Oh. I thought it was...
In case you didn't know.
I thought it was something else, but okay.
No, I'm just saying that having Baron win is asses. It's not, dude. It's not good heat, WWE.
No, it's bad.
Do you
just
not
give up
understand
on
that?
it.
Yes, they don't seem to understand that this is not the good kind of heat. This is legitimately people hate this guy.
This is you're gonna make a fat loser who has nothing else to do not want to watch this show anymore.
Yes,
that being me.
Yes, and when you're a lazy turd and you don't even want to sit down and watch a fucking show, you know
bad.
you fucking failed, WWE. Anyway, they've also failed in making the 24/7 belt a thing that matters.
Oh, man, already?
This already was bad when it first began, but I had some hope because there was some amusing moments in the way it was just, you know, quickly interchanging hands and all that stuff. Anyway, it ended up with R-Truth getting it, and he's had it, and he continues to have it. And but the fact is, he's being chased by peons. And this is not an insult to the people that are chasing him, you know, like Titus and shit. It's just that's what WWE has made these people. Undercards. You know, they're complete undercards. And somewhere else, undercards can be just as good as, you know, whatever. It's just not, they're not the main event. Here, WWE has made us know that they don't care about these people. They're not going to have any screen time except running around chasing R-Truth for this shitty looking belt. And it's played up for comedy, but it lost its luster this week. It's only been out 1 week, and it lost its luster already. I was like, this sucks. This is embarrassing for all the people chasing the belt, because nobody else around them chases the belt. Nobody cares. They pass by Sami Zayn, and he's like, belt.
So they've officially made it like a loser
Yes,
belt.
and it gets worse, all right? And I'll get to that. Anyway, they had this segment right before the main event where fucking Sami Zayn comes out, and, you know, it's always good to see Sami, except that they've already effectively ruined him. The first match he had back, he lost, and he's been losing ever since in bad ways. Like throwing him in a dumpster bad ways. So he comes out and gets in this electric chair segment where they put him into an electric chair and he has to answer questions from the audiences, which are off the cuff. Yeah, right. Man. Most rehearsed questions ever. So much so that the last guy that asked the last question has to think about what his line was because he forgot it. So that's fine, you know. Okay, I get it. It's supposed to set something up. Fine. Except that it's all terrible. None of the questions matter. They're all badly set up. He doesn't really say anything new. He just kind of repeats himself. He does throw in an AEW thing in there that only just kind of made them seem stupid. Like, you could have asked me about AEW, but you asked me instead about this. Great. Now the crowd looks stupid, and you look stupid, and the WWE looks stupid because they just acknowledge the thing that they've been trying to not acknowledge the whole time. It sucked. Long story short, they end up throwing the stupid electric chair out the fucking door because it sucks, and I hope it never comes back. Dude, on top of this, the worst part is that Sami Zayn is no longer a threat. He ended up losing his bout, and that's already like his 1 billionth loss. They've ruined him within seconds. He's got a great mouth. He's got the skills for the mic, and they've ruined him.
Yeah.
So the question is, did Raw have any saving graces? Here are my saving graces. Becky's still on fire. You can't stop her. She had a pretty good match with the Iconics, which, Iconics are very fun, but they're not great workers. Let's just be honest here. But they're very fun. So for them to have a decent match, that was cool. And, her partner was Nikki, so it's always nice to let Nikki play. Because, the alternative is to break up her fucking group and have them leave. Anyway, whatever. So that was cool. Cesaro keeps on getting a push as a bad guy, although it's kind of 50-50 booking at the point. But him and Ricochet have been doing good work together. This is probably their least good match, but it was still entertaining to watch. And it gave you something akin to what AEW was offering, so I guess there's that. Another good thing, they didn't, at least yet, bury the people that's audibly supported AEW. Like Peyton Royce obviously had a match here. Renee was still on the commentary. So, not yet.
Yeah.
So at least they're being smart enough, because I know Vince probably wants to.
I did hear that they were confiscating signs.
I don't know if that's true. I don't care if that's true. If it is true, that's fucking garbage. And I wouldn't put it past them. But, I guess.
As of now, it's not
really,
on screen.
They're confiscating their own shit because they've ruined themselves in one fucking Raw. This was supposed to be their response Raw, and it's... might as well have been silent, is what I'll say. I will say that I do love what they're potentially setting up in the Rey Mysterio Samoa Joe thing, because Samoa Joe has basically he's basically in the situation now where he can get his title back because Rey has to vacate it. So either they're doing a really good job of setting up Rey's son coming into the mix and becoming a part of the action, or they're gonna botch it all up. If it's the former, then cool. This is a cool setup for Rey's son to come in to the mix and actually be a wrestler. If not, then what the fuck is this whole thing for? I don't understand. But anyway, whatever. And of course, Firefly Funhouse continues to be the most exciting and interesting thing on the show as we get to know more and more about the personality behind Bray Wyatt, which is apparently called The Fiend, and that's suitable. So there were some saving graces. It's just they were in the ass end. The part that nobody watches, especially after they sat through like an hour and a half of garbage. So there's that. It was not a good Raw. This is what you should have not expected from them. Worst. So let's talk about SmackDown. Worst of the week for SmackDown. I will say it was better than Raw, but that's usually the case because it's shorter and more succinct. They're kind of stretching Kofi a little thin here. It's to the point. It's not his character. It's just that he needs the personality of the New Day as a whole to come across a lot better. Otherwise, he's just the same guy that they want to push out there. The underdog, the hero that's, being pushed to the limits. All right, we get it. You've given us this for the last few weeks. Here's the part that kind of gets to me there, that irks me, is that now it's becoming incredulous. You know what I'm saying? He's beat up to a bloody pulp, and then he's back the next day or back a few days later. Like, all right, there's only so many times you can get beat up to a bloody pulp where it just doesn't come off as believable anymore. Either someone sucks at beating you up, or you're fucking God. Yeah. So they're stretching him a little thin, and that's kind of worrisome. Although I won't say he's bad, and his match with Kevin Owens was fine. But this first chunk was mostly forgettable. That's really the problem. It was mostly forgettable despite it having interesting people in it. Daniel Bryan did come back, and this was a mixed bag because he come back and, he's playing the role that he's been playing, and that's fine, but there was some cringy-ass humor in it. The way he delivered it was not good. It just came off a little bit less than his normal. On top of that, they announced that there was going to be a challenger to the tag belts that they have, him and Rowan. Heavy Machinery comes out. That should be a thumbs up.
Yeah, we're Oat fans here.
Yeah, it should be a thumbs up, except that he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna, I'll fight you. Just not today. And he goes away, and that's it. That's all we get of Heavy Machinery. You know, you're either going to build this up right or not. Because the characters of Heavy Machinery can do a lot for you if you allow them to actually be there and do something. Instead of just tramping them out and then saying, nah, never mind, bye. So that was kind of fucking lame, man. Also kind of lame, Mandy Moore. Yeah, I wish. That would be weird, wouldn't it? She'd just get beat up. Mandy Rose versus Carmella. The match was fine as far as that goes. I mean, they're not great workers. Carmella especially. And Mandy Rose is getting better, but she's not, top tier. But she's getting the push because she's a big-titted blonde. So no complaints, mind you. But at the same time, we know Vince's spiel here. So she's getting the push. So my big fucking frown goes to Sonya getting the shaft. She's just become... Again? Yeah, she's just become like the cheerleader, the valet. I mean, she's exponentially more skilled than Mandy Rose is at the moment, period. And she's just a person that's there now.
There.
Yeah, so that sucks for Sonya. But on top of that, they had this match where Mandy come out and she's, kind of waxing about her fucking... Hers magazine cover. First of all, what the fuck is Hers magazine?
Thing.
Second of all, this is like back in the day when they would have Playboy covers and they'd be like, check out my Playboy cover. Except now it's Hers magazine, which
so
is
no one cares.
So no one really cares at all. Not even Hers magazine readers. Apparently it's Muscle and Fitness for women. I don't know. Either way, who gives a shit about this magazine? But they're using this as like the crux of her being heel, of her drawing heel heat, right? So the way she wins this match is by, God, it's the worst distraction ever, dude. So she's going up against Carmella, and Carmella ends up showing, Sonya ends up showing Carmella the magazine as a distraction.
Oh, no.
Like, that was the distraction. She gets up on the ropes and goes, something, baby, like she always does, and pointing at the magazine, and that was the distraction for Mandy to get the win. What the fuck is that, man? Who in their right... That's like the equivalent of Asuka getting distracted for 10 years by her doppelganger. Stupid. I was like, nobody in their right mind would be distracted by that. Check out this mag over here. It's cool, right? Shut the fuck up. Worst distraction I've ever seen. Then Shane McMahon comes out, and that's another big fucking frown.
So is that what it's called? You're calling it? Big frown?
Yeah, man. This is the worst of WWE, but the frown is deep. Anyway, it was Shane Appreciation Night, and like I said, the Shane thing is not working, man. And he's brought out Elias and Drew with him, and he's effectively ruined what Elias was good at, which is drawing heat in a likable way. Now he's allied with Shane, and it's just like
now you suck.
Yeah, now you suck by proxy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Drew's been ruined.
Oh yeah.
It was already when he first came to the main roster again.
Iffy.
It was iffy because they completely changed his character from what he was before. But he, all this time hooking him up with Bobby Lashley and now Shane, and it's just that's it. He's done. Short of a miracle, he's pretty much shit tier fucking wrestler. Anyway. He's just not working. Shane's not working, and this just came off as annoying. And thankfully, it was interrupted. Unfortunately, it was interrupted by the 24/7 title being pursued literally through Shane's celebration.
Oh, man.
Another fucking frown from this. Dude, this... Okay, look.
Three Stooges were chasing it, maybe?
It doesn't even matter who was chasing. Oh, what's his name? I forgot his fucking name. You know that tiny guy that peed himself?
Oh, Maverick?
Yeah. That's how forgettable these characters are now. Anyway, Drake Maverick is pursuing fucking R-Truth for the 24/7 title. He interrupts Shane's fucking appreciation night thing that sucks. And, R-Truth gets the win, and he retains his belt, but Shane's pissed off, so he hasn't beat up for a long time. And it sucks. It's terrible. And it just makes you hate the people that are helping him, Drew and Elias, all the more, and not in the good way. Not good heat, just like, dude, stop. This is shitty. Yeah, so now you just hate these other two cats, and then he announces that they're gonna go, that R-Truth, now beat up, is gonna go against Drew and Elias in a tag team match at the end as the main event. And his partner is going to be Roman Reigns, who, of course, Shane has it out for. So that made me groan a little bit because, Roman. Here's the thing. When that match actually came, I'll talk about that because that's actually going to be in the saving graces. But it has one final fucking worst fucking piece of shit of the week element in it. And that's that when the match was over, they've completely ruined the legitimacy of the 24/7 belt. It's done, period. This belt means nothing to anyone ever. Because you got to remember, R-Truth was injured when he went into that final match at the end, okay? Mm-hmm. And basically Roman's doing all the heavy lifting with R-Truth doing some here and there and only getting more and more injured. So when the match is over, Roman sees an opportunity for R-Truth to get his belt back from Elias, who had won it after Shane had beat him up, basically, right? So he just finishes off the job with Elias and then he hands the 24/7 belt to R-Truth.
Oh, man.
Like, hey, man, wake up. Go cover this guy.
Boo.
I could get that belt.
I don't want it, though.
But I don't want it
sucks.
because it's a piece of shit. But it's your belt if you want it. Here's your chance.
Now, I'm sure this is meant to be like, oh, look, good guy Roman moment.
It's just
But
came off.
Yeah, it does just come off as this piece of shit belt. I don't want it.
Yeah, hand in hand with the way the belt's been treated so far, it just solidified that this belt belongs 6 feet underground. It's terrible, dude. This belt means nothing at all. Nothing already. Worst part of the show right there. Like, I was like, this was pointless. Already, in 2 weeks, you've ruined this fucking thing.
Yeah, and that kind of seems to be the norm with shit recently. They give up on shit so quickly.
Yes, it was almost fascinating to see how quickly they did that, or undid that, I should say. So the question remains, were there any saving graces in this fucking SmackDown? Surprisingly, there were less saving graces in this SmackDown than there were in Raw for me, but since it was shorter, it didn't feel terrible, like that 1 hour plus wait for the fucking thing to even ramp up on Raw. So I will say that Lacey Evans versus Bayley was pretty good. Once again, they continue to push Bayley as a stronger competitor that's actually competent. Yes!
That's you smacking her butt, by the way.
Yes, I would totally smack her butt and then lick it. Post-match, no less. But the point is, yes, thank you. Thank you for not making her a fool in the ring. So that's good. And maybe it cost Sasha, her career, but fuck it, there's something for Bayley. On top of that, Lacey didn't come off as weak. In fact, her loss came at the hands of Charlotte's quasi-interference, which led to them having a confrontation. So all kinds of interesting things happened there. Everybody come off looking good and competent. So that was actually a pretty good match there. That was a good little point. Also, I got to say, a special shout out to my boy Andrade, formerly Andrade St. Almas, who has apparently in the span of like a month or two mastered the English language.
Seriously?
Dude, this guy can cut a promo now in English and not sound like a fool. Now, if you're familiar with Andrade from before, you knew that his English was atrocious. Like damn near unintelligible.
There was those rumors that Vince gave him an ultimatum.
Oh, if he did, it worked because he's intelligible and he comes off as threatening, and he can only get better from there because that was really good. I don't see a lot of what's coming toward his way anymore because now you'd have to be a complete retard from the backwoods
to be fair
to not understand what he's saying. And he was calling out Balor and it was good, man. I was like, all right, man, you're doing it. You got the skills in the ring. Now you're proving that you're willing to go and do this extra step.
Maybe dipping into that Charlotte.
Yeah,
helped him out.
That old crooked tit helped him out. Yeah. So anyway, and finally I got to say, again, harkening back to this, that Roman R-Truth Elias Drew match, surprisingly good, man. I didn't expect it to be good. I didn't expect Roman to be the best part of it either. It was good, man. It started off, whatever. Maybe it was just my incredulity. But by the end, I was like, hey, this is a fun-ass match. This is pretty fun. So, surprise.
As long as you ignore the ending.
Yeah, so that was this week in the worst Raw ever and, a mediocre fucking SmackDown that really was awful. But it's just, compared to Raw, come on, I mean, golden egg compared to that. Anyway, we'll be doing these on a weekly basis. And just letting you know what's up. What's the worst? A lot, probably. Anyway.
And it was particularly bad because it was a response, basically, to AEW. And
yeah, that just... I'm stunned. I'm stunned that this is what they thought was going to be the thing to say.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the response.
It's not good.
Woo! Brock Lesnar was also like a omnipresent entity throughout the show. Like he was gonna just say who he was gonna pick to cash in on. He didn't, by the way, as was probably predictable. But it also meant that we would do these cutaways. That just made it increasingly clear that he wasn't gonna pick anyone, and it just didn't feel threatening. Like, all right, he's just standing. It's not cool. Or sitting, not even standing. It's not cool if this guy that was never there is suddenly there, and then he's just sitting.
At least he wasn't reading a magazine in the back.
I mean, he was though. But the point is, it was bad. I don't understand what they're doing. We'll see next week what happens. In the meantime, hit like, share, subscribe, hit the notification buttons, because we are out.